Life can be a firecracker, isn't it? Bursts bright and loud, then fades in a blink. One minute you're chasing dreams, the next, whoosh, it's gone. Hey True Crime fam. Buckle up, because Crimeco is back with another chilling case that'll send shivers down your spine. We all love a good mystery, one that keeps us guessing and peeking over our shoulders. Here at Crimeco, we're all about unraveling those tangled threads, bringing you the stories that haunt our collective memory. So, if you're ready for a deep dive into the dark side, hit that subscribe button and smash that like button. It fuels our hunt for the truth. Now, grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and prepare to crack open a case that'll leave you saying, wait, what? All right, detectives, let's get cracking. Forget fancy London suburbs. Feltham was just a regular town. People went about their days. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But under the surface, something dark was lurking, waiting to snatch someone away. Feltham Comprehensive was a normal school, filled with kids hoping for a bright future. That's where our story starts, with a young student whose life was about to take a terrible turn. Hounslow Heath nearby was a big, beautiful park, a place to escape the city noise. But for one person, it became a scene of horror that would leave a permanent scar. In this ordinary place, where everyday life met the unthinkable, a terrible event was about to happen. It would change everything for the people involved, leaving a mark that would never fade. Our story centers around Patsy Morris, a 14-year-old full of life and dreams. Feltham, the town that seemed peaceful on the surface, would soon become the backdrop for a nightmare. Patsy lived with her parents, George, a retired army man, and Marjorie, along with her two brothers. They'd just moved from Birmingham in 1979, but Patsy fit right in at Feltham Comprehensive with her siblings. Bright blonde hair, a sweet smile, she was a typical teenager figuring things out with her family by her side. Patsy Morris was born on January 10, 1966, to George and Marjorie. Her dad, a tough old soldier, raised her to be strong and brave. Back in Birmingham, Patsy's childhood was filled with laughter and playing with her two brothers. They explored their world, curious and full of wonder. In 1979, the Morris family moved to Isleworth. Patsy, ever the trooper, took it in stride. She made friends at Feltham Comprehensive. Her smile and kindness were hard to resist. School was good, and even with the usual teenage stuff, Patsy faced life with a contagious energy. Her dreams were big. The future stretched out bright. No one could have guessed what was about to happen. A darkness lurked beneath the surface of their ordinary life, waiting to strike a blow that would tear their world apart. June 16, 1980. A day etched in infamy for everyone who knew Patsy. It started like any other Monday for the 14-year-old. Backpack on, spring in her step, she headed to Feltham Comprehensive. But lunchtime rolled around, and things took a terrible turn. Apparently, Patsy forgot her raincoat. No big deal, right? Except it meant leaving school to grab it from home. Witnesses saw Patsy near her house around noon. Another spotted a similar girl huddled at a bus stop later. Those were the last glimpses of Patsy alive. As hours bled into night, panic set in. Hundreds of police, helicopters, and worried neighbors joined the search. Everyone desperate to find Patsy safe. Their hopes were shattered 2 agonizing days later. A police dog handler found Patsy's body hidden in the brush on Hounslow Heath, a short distance from her home. The scene was horrific. Patsy had been strangled, her young life stolen in a cruel attack. What made it even more disturbing? She was fully clothed, but wearing 2 pairs of underwear. This detail, along with the brutal murder, left more questions than answers. The shock quickly turned into a burning desire for justice. Detectives swarmed the area, sifting through every clue, every shred of evidence, determined to find the monster who did this. Patsy's body was a horrifying discovery, and the investigation to find her killer went into overdrive. Here's what we know about her final moments. It seems Patsy left school at lunch to grab her raincoat, but bad weather might have changed her usual route. Maybe she needed to find shelter for a bit. That's when a predator saw his chance. We don't know if he lied to her or forced her, but somehow, Patsy ended up alone with a dangerous person. The killer's motives are a complete mystery, but we can only imagine Patsy's fear. He lured her away from the normal paths and deep into Hounslow Heath. A place meant for peace and nature turned into a nightmare. With no one around to see, the attacker did something awful to Patsy. He took her innocence and her future in a horrific way. Any cries for help were lost in the vast emptiness of the heath. Just steps from her home, Patsy's life was stolen. Strangulation cut short a vibrant young girl with so much potential. The community was devastated. How could something so terrible happen to one of their own? Shock turned to grief, anger, and a desperate need for justice. The hunt for Patsy's killer became a relentless pursuit. The police wouldn't rest until they found the person who did this. But the case was messy, full of questions with no answers. Right after Patsy's body was found, the police warned everyone in West London to be super careful. They told parents to keep their kids away from Hounslow Heath by themselves. This peaceful park was now a place of horror. Patsy's mom, Marjorie, was heartbroken and confused. What was she even doing on the heath? She told reporters. We always told her not to go there, and she never disobeyed us. The deeper the investigation went, the more lost the family felt. The police talked to all of Patsy's classmates, trying to figure out where she went last and if anyone knew anything. For days after they found Patsy, a detective said they thought a kid who skipped school a lot might have important information. This put even more pressure on them to solve the case quickly. Then things took an even darker turn. Shortly after Patsy's death, her dad, George, got a horrifying phone call. A teenage boy threatened to kill him. The voice was unrecognizable, but the call came from somewhere nearby. This added a whole new layer of creepiness to an already messed up situation. Weeks turned into months, and the investigation kept hitting dead ends. In December, the police made a public plea. They were looking for a guy who drove a blue van with a car phone, someone who was spotted near Patsy's house around the time she went missing. Maybe he saw something important. But despite everything, the trail seemed to get colder every day. By the end of the year, the police had only been able to track down 9 out of 22 golfers who were playing on the course next to where Patsy was found. That left a huge hole in their investigation. Years passed, and Patsy's murder became a wound that never healed. It was a mystery that hung over the community and her family like a dark cloud. The police chased leads, questioned suspects, but the truth about what happened to Patsy remained frustratingly out of reach. Years went by, but no one gave up on finding Patsy's killer. Then, in 1996, a new clue emerged. It was a tiny spark of hope, but it was enough to get the investigation going again. On July 8th that year, the police raided a house in Hounslow at the crack of dawn. They arrested a 33-year-old man who would have been 17 when Patsy was killed. He worked at a bus depot nearby, and the police took him in for questioning. For weeks, they grilled this man, hoping to connect him to the crime. Eventually, they had to let him go, but they weren't finished yet. They brought him in for another round of questioning in August. By October, things got interesting. The police thought they had enough evidence to charge the man, but the CPS, the people who decide if there's enough proof for a trial, said no. This was a huge blow to everyone who hoped to finally see justice for Patsy. Even though the charges fell through, the search for Patsy's killer never stopped. Her case stayed in the minds of police and the public alike. Then, in 2007, things got creepy again. A new serial killer named Peter Tobin was caught in Scotland, and his crimes were horrific. As details about Tobin's murders came out, including finding the bodies of 2 women buried at his old house, something clicked for Patsy's dad, George Morris. He felt in his gut that Tobin was the one who took his daughter. This hunch led the police to take another good look at Patsy's case as part of a big investigation into Tobin's possible victims. But once again, the trail went cold. By 2011, they had to shut down the investigation without ever proving Tobin was connected to Patsy or any other unsolved cases. The search for Patsy's killer kept hitting dead ends, but in 2008, a new twist emerged that sent shivers down everyone's spine. This time, it involved a local man named Levi Bellfield, a recently convicted murderer who'd terrorized the community. Bellfield lived close to the Morris family back in 1980. Even creepier? He'd just been found guilty of killing 2 women and trying to kill another, all between 2003 and 2004, in the same area where Patsy's body was found. Then came the bombshell. A fellow inmate claimed Bellfield confessed to Patsy's murder while they were both in jail. This news was a huge deal, and detectives scrambled to see if the 2 cases were connected. Here's the thing that really sent chills down everyone's spines. Bellfield and Patsy weren't just neighbors, they were classmates at Feltham Comprehensive. They were even childhood sweethearts, a detail that somehow slipped through the cracks for almost 30 years. Patsy's family was floored. This new information was a punch to the gut, especially for Patsy's sister, who couldn't believe they never knew about the connection between her sister and the suspect. It turned out their old classmates remembered Patsy and Bellfield being a thing, but somehow it never came up before. This bombshell made Bellfield's past look even darker. Could it be that Patsy's murder was the start of his twisted fixation on blonde women? A fixation that would lead him to kidnap, rape, and kill another young girl, Millie Dowler, in 2002? As the investigation reopened, creepy details about Bellfield's behavior on the day Patsy vanished came to light. He was known to ditch school a lot and hang out at Hounslow Heath, the same place where Patsy's body was found. And it didn't stop there. Bellfield's ex-girlfriends mentioned his disturbing hatred for blondes, a trait that matched the description of his victims way too well. Some people even thought Patsy's murder might have been the spark that ignited his dark desires, pushing him down a path of escalating violence. The discovery of Levi Bellfield as a possible suspect threw the case wide open, but things were far from simple. Turns out, Patsy's murder might not have been a random act. As detectives dug deeper, they found a creepy pattern. Patsy's case wasn't an isolated incident, but maybe part of something bigger and more disturbing. Her murder looked a lot like 2 other unsolved killings in the area: a teenage girl named Lynn Whedon in 1975 and a young woman named Elizabeth Perevincina in 1977. All 3 crimes happened in a grim triangle within Hounslow, London. It was like the work of the same sick person. This theory got even stronger when they linked these cases to the murder of a model, Eve Stratford. DNA evidence connected her killer to Lynn's case. The more they investigated, the more tangled the web became. Detectives looked at every detail from each crime scene, hoping to find a clue about the killer's methods. Then came another bombshell. The way Patsy was tied up looked eerily similar to the victims of the Yorkshire Ripper, a notorious serial killer. Crime writers Chris Clark and Tim Tate dropped another bombshell on the case. They claimed Patsy's body was found arranged in a way that mirrored the victims of the Yorkshire Ripper, a serial killer who terrorized England. According to them, Patsy's clothes were messed up and her underwear was used to tie her hands and ankles. This signature style was eerily similar to how the Ripper posed his victims. They even suggested a sexual motive for the crime based on the way her body was positioned. This theory was intriguing, but also confusing. The police had DNA evidence that could easily rule out the Yorkshire Ripper as a suspect in Patsy's case, and for other unsolved murders like those of Stratford and Whedon. So, was it just a creepy coincidence, or was there something more to it? The connection to a notorious killer added another layer of darkness to Patsy's story. The investigators now had a whole new web of possibilities to untangle. Patsy's murder became a cold case, a wound that never healed. Years bled into decades, but her story never faded from people's minds. Every new lead, every potential suspect, brought a flicker of hope. Then, in 2012, a blow. Levi Bellfield, the man who supposedly confessed, might not have done it after all. This promising lead seemed to vanish into thin air, forcing investigators back to the drawing board. But they wouldn't give up. In 2016, a new tip sparked a fresh investigation, not just for Patsy's case, but for a staggering 20 unsolved crimes, all potentially linked to Bellfield. The police dug deep, chasing every lead, every shred of evidence. But in the end, it wasn't enough. There just wasn't a clear connection between Bellfield and Patsy or any of the other cold cases. As time marched on, the pain for Patsy's loved ones only intensified. Her parents, George and Marjorie, eventually passed away without ever seeing justice served for their daughter. Patsy's case became a heartbreaking reminder of a life stolen and a chilling mystery that continues to haunt those who seek the truth. Patsy's case became a permanent fixture in people's minds, a constant reminder of the darkness that can creep into our world. Documentaries tried to crack the mystery. His Name is Evil, Levi Bellfield, 2012, looked deep into the life of the main suspect, while Levi Bellfield, Getting Away with Murder? 2021, on Channel 5 featured interviews with journalists who had been following the case for years. These programs offered a glimpse into the twisted mind of a killer, but more importantly, they kept Patsy's story alive. Books also took on the challenge of telling Patsy's story. The Bus Stop Killer, 2011, by Jeffrey Wansell explored the horrific crimes of Bellfield and the possibility of his involvement in Patsy's case. Crime writers Chris Clark and Tim Tate offered a different theory in their 2015 book, suggesting a link to the Yorkshire Ripper killer. While their idea wasn't quite right, it did add another twist to this already complicated case. Years have passed, but Patsy's murder is a wound that keeps bleeding. It's a chilling reminder of the evil that can exist and how desperately we need answers. The trail may be cold, but there are still embers of hope. People haven't forgotten Patsy, and they won't let her story fade away. Patsy's life may have been cut short, but her memory lives on. It reminds us how precious life is and how important it is to hold on to every moment. It's a call for justice, a reminder of how strong the human spirit can be, even in the face of terrible loss. Maybe someday the truth will come out. Maybe those who loved Patsy will finally get the closure they deserve. Until then, her memory will be a bright flame, burning in the darkness. It will inspire others to keep fighting for justice, no matter how long it takes. Patsy's murder is a wound that keeps reopening. It's a terrible mystery with no answer, and the person who took her away is still out there. It hangs heavy over the community, a constant reminder of what was lost. But even in this darkness, there's a flicker of light. Patsy's story is a rallying cry, a testament to how strong the human spirit can be. The love for her hasn't faded, and it binds people together even in the face of such tragedy. Her memory lives on, not just with her family and friends, but with everyone who's heard her story. Documentaries, books, and articles keep her name alive, a beacon of hope in a world that sometimes seems unfair. We hear Patsy's laughter in our memories, see her dreams in the eyes of every child who deserves a safe future. Her story reminds us that every life, no matter how short, has meaning. Finding the truth about what happened to her is a sacred duty, something we can't give up on. The road to answers may be long and hard, but there's still hope. People refuse to let Patsy's story be forgotten. Her loss is a stark reminder that even in the darkest times, we can fight for justice and compassion. Let's honor Patsy by keeping the fight alive. Let's demand answers, never lose sight of the value of every human life. By standing up to cruelty and injustice, we truly honor a young girl whose story has become a call for a better world. Patsy's life may have been cut short, but her impact will be felt for years to come. Her story is a testament to the enduring human spirit and the unwavering pursuit of justice. It's a light that will never truly be extinguished. Alright guys, that's all for this chilling case. Before you head out and lock your doors extra tight tonight, don't forget to hit that like button. It lets us know you're spooked in a good way and keeps the creepy cases coming your way. And hey, while you're at it, smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. You wouldn't want to miss our next dive into the mysterious unknown. right? We've got a whole archive of unsolved mysteries and head-scratchers waiting to be explored. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the shadows. We'll see you on the flip side for another mind-blowing case. Until then, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, the truth is always out there, just waiting to be found.